In this watercolor painting for beginners, I'm going to be painting 3 sleepy animals that will be super easy and perfect for the beginner. I'm going to go over my supplies, but before I do, I want to say hi to everyone who's in the chat box, and if you're watching the replay, feel free to skip ahead a minute or so if you would like. But there is an outline down below for you in the description of this video that you can transfer onto your watercolor paper. And there's oh wait, there is not a reference photo this time. Just follow along with whatever I do for this painting. You don't really need a reference picture. It looks like Shannon is here, and Una, I don't know how to say that. I'm sorry. And Chatra is here, and Sarah and Sydney. It's so nice to see all of you guys. I'm really excited about this painting. It's going to be super easy and relaxing and fun and also cute. We have cute sleeping animals here. Anyways, I will go over the supplies I'm using. So here is my Etcher sketchbook. This is my favorite watercolor sketchbook ever. So I'm using this, and it's size 5x7. And the brushes I'll be using are my silver black velvet brushes. I have a size 8, 4, and 2, and these are round brushes here. And then I have a size 1 script brush. And then the paints that I plan on using are my Woodlands pan set paints here from Art Philosophy. So yeah, so basically though, you don't need this set to paint this painting. All you really need are like brown, black, and maybe like a red or a green, depending on the color of the leaves you want. So yeah, I just plan on using this set here. And all of the supplies are linked down below for you if you would like to check them out on Amazon or Blick Art Supplies. And then I might also use my white gouache here from Winsor & Newton for some white details at the end. Okay, so if you're just joining the live stream, the outline for this is linked down below. You can print it out and transfer it onto your paper. What I did here, I'll show you real quick what I did. So I printed mine out, and I have transfer paper, graphite transfer paper, and I just like laid it on my sketchbook and used a pencil and traced my outline, and it ended up like this. So that's what I did. Sometimes I also use a light pad with watercolor pencils, or just like a regular pencil. Okay, so let's get started. Hi, it's so nice to see everyone. Hi, Gunda and Mary Ellen. So nice. Where is everyone from? I'd love to know where you're from. Okay, so I'm going to start the first layer on these animals. So I'm going to work them at the same time, layer by layer. So the first color that we'll need to mix is like a light beige brown color, okay? So for this pan set, I was thinking of using maybe Cavern or Sand Ridge. If you just have brown like this, that's okay. You can mix a little bit of yellow into it, or a little bit of red into it to make it more of like a color like this one. Okay, so I'm going to take my size 8 brush here, dip it in my water. Okay, and I already have some Cavern right here, which is the brown I'm using. So I'm just gonna mix some water into it, and then I might mix some of that Sand Ridge into it. And then we do want a lot of water. This is the first layer, so we want it to be very light. because with watercolor you work from light to dark. So to make watercolor lighter, you need to mix more water into your paint. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Okay, so I'm going to start with the owl up here. And I'm also going to have another brush with me, hold on, that I will use to blend. So this brush will be my size 8 Princeton Neptune brush, and it just has some water in it, and it's clean. So yeah, I'm going to take this color, and these animals are going to be very simple and easy. And I'm just painting, like making little tiny brush strokes in the direction of how I want his feathers to be. And I'm leaving a little bit of white here and there. You don't have to paint with this everywhere. And then this is my brush that just has some water in it. And I'm just gonna kind of blend slightly. So I'm painting the top of his head and then kind of down a little bit in between his eyes right here. And then I will probably add a little bit of brown underneath his eyes. So I'm just making little tiny brush strokes, switching to my brush that has a little bit of water and just dabbing at those little brush strokes. Okay, and then now I'm going to add some of this along his chest area, just making some long, simple brush strokes and like this. And notice how I'm leaving some white. That's because I want some white stripes in this area. So I'm leaving the white on my paper. And then in this area here on him, I'm going to leave unpainted because he's white right there. Okay, and then I will go ahead and take this brush, my blending brush, just has water in it, dab a little bit at these brush strokes. You don't have to do this, but I just wanted to soften those up a little bit. And take more of that color and paint in some feathers. So this is the very tip of my brush, like so. And then I'll do another one right here. Very simple brush strokes like that. And then I'll do some dabs. Just like that. And then if your brush strokes have like little petals like that, you can leave it, or you can take a brush and just kind of soak them up. All right, so that's the first layer for the owl. Jana is here. Jana from South Africa. Mary Ellen is from Maryland. Ellis, I'm just gonna call you Ellis. Ellis is from Liverpool, near Liverpool. Shannon is from Kansas City. Hi Holly, nice to see you. Sarah is from the UK. Pamela is from Seattle. Michaela is from, oh, she didn't say where she's from, but she says, watching with my daughter. Nice. Sadie is from Canada. And Mary says, I just love your animal paintings. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, before I move on to the fawn here, I'm going to mix this color again. So I'm using the woodland set, and I'm just mixing some of the cavern with the sand ridge. And I'm also mixing a lot of water into it because I want it to be light. Okay, lots of water. And if you enjoy this tutorial, you might like my 10-day watercolor woodland animal challenge, where we paint 5 woodland animals in 10 days together, and you get access to live streams just like this. I paint those animals step by step with you. You might also like, so hard to talk and paint at the same time, my woodland animal class too. And those animals are different than the ones from the challenge. Okay, so I'm just filling in my fawn with that color that I mixed the backside for now. The white spots on the fawn, I do plan on painting with white gouache at the end. You can do that, or you can leave some white areas of your paper, and those can be your spots. Okay, the nose, I'm going to leave the nose unpainted because the nose is black. But if you do paint it with brown, that's okay, because you can always paint black over it. I'm going to paint in the ears, and I'm not going to paint right next to the wet area right here. I guess I could have just painted all of this at once. I probably should have done that, but it's okay. Because this area is already starting to dry right here, and if I have this wet paint painting right next to it, it'll just seep into this area here and create some weird texture that we don't want. Okay. Anyways, there, that's fine. Basically everywhere on the spine, we'll just have this light brown color. For the little areas like this, I am using the very tip of my brush. And the face, I'm cleaning my brush right now. The face is a little too dark. So I'm going to take my brush here. It has a little tiny bit of water in it, not too much, and I'm just going to wipe some away. Like that. Okay, now we're going to move on to the fox. I'm going to mix that color, but this time I might just use the cavern. That's what it's called, cavern. And again, we want a lot of water. This is the very first layer. We want it to be light. And this area here, I want it to be like very light. So, I don't know. I guess I'll paint this too in that area. As long as it's not too dark. So I'll just go ahead and cover him all with this. So who here is painting along with me? The tip of his tail is going to be black, but I'm going to just paint it anyways, because with black, I can paint black on top of orange and it'll be okay. And I do want some of the underneath part of the black to be orange, like show through. And there is some glitter in my paint, so that's what you see if you're just wondering what that is. It's not from these paints, it's just from another paint I was using. Okay, we'll do the leaves towards the end. Now we're going to start the second layer and start with the owl. How are you guys doing? How's it going? Let me know in the chat box. R1I2M321 says, hi from Saudi Arabia. Sarah says, hi from Pakistan. Sarah Lucas says, hi Allison. Hi Sarah. Marie is from New York. Thierry is here from Oregon. Chatra says, the Woodland Animal Challenge was so fun. I know, it was so fun. Can you believe we did that like live together? What was it? Almost 2 years ago? I just believe that. Liz says, good afternoon. It's good to see you, Liz. Gabrielle says, will we be able to come back and rewatch this video after the live stream? Yes. Yeah, just come back to my channel and you should find the replay. There will be a replay available. Okay, so now the second layer for the owl, I want it to be like a dark brown. So I'll be using this bear color here. So basically just like your normal brown color. And I am trying to figure out what brush I want to use. I think I'm going to move to my size 4 brush. So I'm taking that bear color and I'm going to put it over here. And I want to mix quite a bit of water in it, but not too much. I don't want it to be too light, like as light as the first layer. So I would say I'm mixing like 50% paint with 50% water. So like a 1-to-1 ratio. And I'm gonna use my other brush, my size 8 brush, to blend. So this brush is clean and it just has a little bit of water in it. Okay, next, I'm going to paint along this outer part of his face. So I'll dab my brush like this, and I'm envisioning like the direction of his feathers, like how I want them to be. You want to follow the contour of his face when you do this. So as you can see, my brush strokes follow the contour of his face. Or his head. Then I'm going to switch to my brush that just has water in it. And I'm going to dab at these marks. Just a few quick dabs. This will just make it not look like, make these lines not look so harsh, kind of blend them a little bit. Make him look more fluffy. Then I'm going back in, adding a few more. And also along his face, I'm going to dab my brush. And then I'm going to paint in his eye right here. That I'm using like the very tip of my brush. You can also use a smaller brush for this part. Then I'm going to paint the top part of his eyelid right here. And then along his beak. In the chat box, let us know how long you've been painting. How long have you been an artist? I would love to know. And have you been painting with watercolor long? Is watercolor like the first painting medium you've learned, or have you painted with other kinds of mediums? Now I'm making some little tiny brush strokes on the outside of his face. Okay. I do kind of want to work more in this area. I feel like I probably should have added some more of like a lighter brown, so I'm just gonna let this dry and I will add some of a lighter brown in his face. But in the meantime, I'm gonna go ahead and just go along the edge of him, make some fluffy little brush strokes like that. And he has like some claws here. I'm just gonna paint those in. Just simple claws like that. Nothing too detailed. And then his tail feather right here, I'm going to paint that in with some quick brush strokes like this. So 3, like a larger brush stroke, a little one, and then another little one. And I'm leaving some white right here because this area is white, has white feathers. And then I'm going to paint another feather here. And then some tiny thin ones right here. And then I'll go ahead and paint some rounder, smaller feathers up here, kind of in between those light brown ones. But I do want to leave some white areas too. I don't want to paint everywhere. And what I'm doing, I'm just pushing lightly down on my brush like this. Okay, and we'll paint the stump towards the end. I think I do want to add some detail here. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and paint his chest with this brown color too. I do want some stripes, maybe some like larger stripes. So I'm going to like dab my brush like this. Dab, dab, dab. Dab, dab, dab. And then I'm going to take this brush here, it just has water in it, and I'm just going to dab at these a little bit to soften those brush strokes a little bit. Sorry, I keep repeating myself. I keep saying a little bit, sorry. Okay. And there's that second layer for the owl. Chatra says it's been 3 years since we've done the Woodland Animal Challenge. Are you sure? It's really been that long? What? It's crazy. Sadie says, very chilly this morning. Yeah, it's cold here in Indiana. Liz says, my white rabbit Bugs needed a hoodie this morning. I could see her breathe. It was so cold. Aww. Sadie says that she's painting a rabbit wearing a yellow hoodie. That's so cute. Hi, Tinker. So nice to see you here. Okay, now we'll move on to the fawn. Okay, so I'm going to use the same color and the same brush. I'm just mixing more of it on my palette. Okay, here we go. I'm going to start on this end. So the tail, I'll go ahead and paint a line right here. My line isn't that good. So I'm taking a brush, clean, just has some water, and I'm just kind of fixing it. And then blending this up. Okay. I really want these to be easy and loose looking. I don't want to do too much detail and blending, which is a challenge for me because I'm always wanting to add all of the detail with paintings. Okay, I didn't draw it, but there's like maybe a line here for the thigh. I think maybe about here would be where it is. And then I'm going to take my other brush that just has water in it and going to blend this way. And then I'm going to add some dark brown on the thigh right along the face. This will help the face stand out against the thigh. And there would be a shadow right there, most likely. And then I'm going to blend this with my brush that just has water in it. Blend this out. So this guy might be the hardest one we paint out of these animals. Next, going to paint this leg here that's behind the tail. I just switched to my brush that just has a little bit of water in it, and I'm just going to work this better. And I'm going to add some over here. Okay. Next, I'm going to add this dark brown along his back. You might be thinking, oh my gosh, what is she doing? Just trust me on this. And then I'm switching to my brush that just has water, and I'm going to blend this. This will just help him stand out from the page, make him pop. And I'm going to try not to blend too perfectly either. Trying to keep it loose. Then I'll go along here too, like under, like his chin and neck. And then his leg here. Kind of added too much, but it's all right. Okay, and then this area here, we will add some shadow. This will help his head stand out from his back. And then I'll add a little shadow right here. There. And his head, the top part of his head. Okay. Then I'll add some dark brown right here, right about where his ear starts. And then I'll paint in this part of his ear, like the inner part. Okay, we're almost done with this guy for this layer. I'm going to paint the outside of this ear. Now I'm going to paint in his eye, the line of his eye. and the line of his mouth. Okay. Just kind of fixing this a little bit. And I'll paint in his nose. I guess I'll paint in his nose too with this dark brown, but I'll probably add a touch of black to it in the next layer. Make sure the areas around it are dry. You don't want any areas seeping into each other. All right, and then take your brush that just has water in it and blend this out more. But not too much like I just did, because now it looks like his nose is really big. So if that happens, take a clean brush that just has some water, kind of soak some of this up. Okay. There, that's fine. That's okay. And there's that. Now we'll move on to the fox. I'm gonna take a drink of water. Sadie says, I've been painting my whole life, watercolor off and on for 15 years, only getting okay at it since watching YouTube videos on watercolor about 3 years ago. Liz says, also a lifelong artist, and I'm too old to tell you, but I've been using watercolor for over 40 years. Chatra says, oh, Chatra says 3 years for the challenge. Or I mean, how long she's been painting. Sorry, Chatra, I thought you meant since we've done the woodland animal challenge. I'm sorry. Michaela says, began watercolor only since October. Nice. Okay. So again, for the fox, it's going to be the same thing. We're going to use brown, the same size of brush. All right. But I don't think I'll use as much brown. I want him to be more of an orange. So never mind. Scratch that. I'm not going to use that brown. Sorry. Instead, I'm going to use redwood. I'll use redwood for the second layer on him. And then in the next layer on him, I'll use the dark brown color. So I'm going to take a redwood, which is like a reddish brown, kind of like a burnt red color. I'm going to add that here. And then I'm also going to mix some cavern into it because it's a little too red actually. Yeah, this is too much. I'm going to drag some of this off. I don't want him to look too red. That's better. Mix water into it. Okay. All right, so now I will add this red. I'll start on his back right here. And I'm not gonna start down here because I want this area on him to be lighter. So I'm gonna start about right here. Just add some. Take my brush that just has water in it and then blend this color. Darn, you can see my pencil line right here. I might add some more because I don't want my pencil line to show. It's too late to erase it. But you know what? It's okay if it shows. It's fine. And this is just for fun. Okay. Remember that if you have pencil lines that you want to erase them before you add watercolor. Otherwise, it'll be very hard to get rid of them. Unless you paint on top of them with a dark watercolor color. Okay, I'm gonna drag some of this now down his head right here and blend this into his face. And then add some along his head. Blend. Okay, I need to take a quick 10-second break, real quick. Okay, I'll be right back, guys. Okay, I'm back. All right. Okay, so now I'm going to add this along this back side. Like so. Take my blending brush, blend like this. All right, and now I'm going to work this way on his tail just because it's easier for me. Switch to my blending brush. Just blend this in his tail and then in his back. And then I'll also add some at this side of his tail. And then I will go ahead and kind of dab a little bit more color into him right there because this area is still wet. Okay. And now his head, let's see, I know that this part of the ear I want to be black. I think I'm gonna add some orange here and then like here. So I added some and then I'm gonna switch to my blending brush and work this color this way. Like that, okay? And that's it for this layer. Okay, cleaning my brush. Now we're going to move on to the owl. Now this owl, for the third layer, I think I might add a little bit of this reddish color in him, and then darken some shadows. So I'm going to take my size 4 brush, grab the same red color I used for the fox, and just make a few little feathers right here and in its chest area. Maybe a few over here. And then his head. His feet. Okay. And then I will add a little bit more on his face. I'm going to add some of that lighter brown that I used in the first layer. And then just make some loose feathers. And then I'm going to switch to my size 8 brush and dab at those brush strokes a little bit. Notice how I am still leaving some white on my paper. That's important. You don't want to paint everywhere with color for watercolor. And then I think I will add the same color a little bit more, so it doesn't look like just his face is this color. Okay. So this will probably be the last layer on him. I'm going to go ahead and add the final details that is not white gouache yet. So I'm not getting out my white gouache yet. I'm going to go ahead and take black. For the woodland set, I'm using shadow. So it looks like a very dark gray. And I'm just going to add this here on my palette. And actually, I should probably use a smaller brush. So this is my size 2 round brush that I'm using now. And we don't want too much water, so only enough water to make it easy to paint with. Okay, I'm going to paint in his eyes. Yes, make sure this area is dry before you do this. It wasn't perfectly dry for me, so it is kind of seeping into that light brown, but it's fine. And then I'm going to do some little tiny details for his beak. And then I'm going to use this black to deepen some shadows. Help him stand out more, increase the contrast on him. But I don't want to add black in too many areas. Maybe I'll even add a few black feathers. And some little details too. Okay. All right, I think that's all right for now. I think I'm pretty happy with that. Now we'll move on to the fawn, and I'm gonna clean that brush. Move back to my size 4 brush. Sarah says, I've been painting since I was 15 years old. It's a long time. Sadie says that she's been painting for as long as Liz has, which I think was 40 years. Penny says, this is so adorable. Thank you. Yeah, what animal is your favorite animal out of these 3? Let me know in the chat. For me, gosh, I don't know, to be honest, because all 3 animals on here I just love. That's why I chose them. But if I had to choose one, I guess I would choose the fox. Okay, so for this fawn, for this final layer, I do want to add a little bit of red into her fur because there's red in both of these and she will just look off, like she doesn't belong here because she doesn't have red in her. So I'm going to take my size 4 brush, grab that red color, and I will add, like, dab some here and there. So I dabbed some right there. Go in with my brush that just has water in it, my blending brush, and blend this. And I'm not going to put it everywhere, just a little bit here and there. Maybe like in the shadows. All right. That looks good. Now I will clean my brush. And I think I'm going to add some detail with dark brown, and then I'll go in with black. So I'm taking my size 4 brush, grabbing that black color in this woodland set, adding it here. Oh wait, I said I would do brown. Just kidding. Taking this bear color. I'm not going to add as much water as I did before, just enough to make it easy to paint with. Okay, so I'm going to start with the tail. I'm going to add some lines like this for the tail. take my blending brush, dab at those lines like that. Let's see, and then I'm gonna add some dark brown right here. This is where that leg is behind the tail. Okay. And right here, blend out. Okay. Yeah, I'm just adding some more darks. All right, now the ears. So right here, I'm gonna add some dark brown. And like right here. I'm gonna add dark brown right here behind the ear where the neck is. Okay. And then this is the ear right here. I added a little bit more. And I think that's it actually for the brown. So I'm gonna clean my brush. And take my size 2 round brush and take black. And again, I'm only mixing enough water into it to make it easy to paint with. I don't want too much water. And I'm going to add a little bit of black right here on the ear. My ear is still wet, which is fine. This will just kind of seep or blend into that brown. But it is kind of blending weird, so I'm going to take my size 4 brush. It just has some water in it and make that look a little better. And then I'm going to add some to the nose. I just dabbed a little bit, then I'm going in with my size 4 brush. It's clean, and I'm just going to kind of work that like that. And I'll paint in the mouth, the line for the mouth, very thinly. And then for the eye, and then I'll add some black to this ear. This is my brush. It just has some water in it, and I'm going to dab at that black a little tiny bit. And then black for the hoof. Is that what it's called? Hoof? And since it's drying, the black is drying, I can see that it's not as dark. So I'm gonna add a little bit more to the nose right there. All right. And that is that for the fawn. After the fox, when we do the next layer on the fox, I'll go in and add white gouache details to the animals, and that will really help them look finished. And then we'll paint in the leaves and the stump here. And you can even paint in some grass around the fawn and fox too. How are you guys doing? Let me know in the chat box. Adam, oh, I don't know what Adam's saying. Michaela says, I started watercolor because of your channel. Oh, that's so sweet. Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm so glad you started. Okay. Marie says, if I had to pick one of these animals, I think the fawn is my favorite. I started painting in November. Your tutorials got me hooked. Yay, that's so exciting. Hi, Freya. Freya says, this is so beautiful and cute. Allison, thank you so much. Okay, I'm cleaning my brush. Now I'm going to get out brown for the fox. And I'm using my size 2 brush. Okay, I'm gonna start maybe on the back here. I'm just gonna add a little bit on the back. This will just help him stand out from the page, help him pop. This is my size 8 brush, and I'm just blending this brown into his back. And this brush here just has water in it, and I added too much brown right there. It's too dark. Yeah, you don't want this to be too dark. Just enough to give him some depth. And then I'll do the same to outline like his face from his back. And this is his tail right here, so I just dragged what I painted here over here, and now I'm kind of moving it up. Okay, and then I'll go ahead and add some of this to the bottom of his tail. Kind of dab my brush. His tail is fluffy, so I'm also adding some brush strokes. And then I'll add some over here too, the top part of his tail. Okay, and now we'll work on his face. So this part of his ear is black, but I'll go ahead and paint in the side of his head right here. Drag this upwards to where this part of his ear will be black. And let's see. I'll add some brown here in between his two ears. Dab. Trying to dab my brush in a way that will look like fur. Now, I am going to go back into this area here with some brown because it's drying and it's kind of drying too light. So I'm going to add some more. That's the thing with watercolor. When it dries lighter than when you painted with it. So you might have to go back in and add some more when it's dry until you reach the contrast or like the value of what you're going for. Okay. I'm looking at my fox and I feel like I kind of want him to be a little bit more orange. A little bit more. So I'm going to clean my brushes and I'm going to add some more orange to him. So I'm taking Cavern from the Woodland set. If you're not using the set, don't use orange right from the tube. It's too saturated and bright. Instead, mix orange with a little bit of brown or like brown and orange and red together, or like red, yellow, and then a little bit of brown, just so that it looks more realistic. You don't want to use like super saturated orange for your fox. All right, so I'm gonna add a little bit more orange to him, like so. Take this brush I have, it just has water, kind of blend, dab. I'm keeping this loose, so I'm not like doing super detailed work or anything. I'm gonna add some more to the tail. All right, that looks better. A lot better. Cleaning my brush. And now I'm going to get out my black. So I'm taking some black, just like the other animals. I'm going to start with the tip of the tail here. Notice how I'm just making some brush strokes like this. And now it's kind of blending into this area because right here is still wet, which is just fine. I kind of want to do that. Taking my clean size 8 brush, just has some water, dabbing at this part of the tail, kind of along the outer edge as well, to soften up the tail, make it look soft. And I'm kind of dragging this black this way. And then this way. I might dab in some more. All right, taking black again. Now I will paint in the ears. Make sure the back area here is dry before you do this, Okay, because you don't want this to seep into the back of him. So adding this to the ear here, and then on the side, switching to my blending brush, dabbing that black a little bit. And then on this side, switched to my blending brush, working this black towards the tip of the ear, like so. And then on the other side of the ear. Okay, now I will paint in the eye. Make sure the face is dry. Make sure it's dry. Use like the very tip of my brush. Okay. That looks fine. That looks good. And I'm happy with that. Okay. Cleaning my brush. We're almost done. I'm going to take a little water break. Hannah says, just got here. These are so cute, Allison. Thank you. It's good to see you, Hannah. Penny says, that's a difficult question. I love them all, although owls are very intriguing. I don't see them too often, only in books or YouTube. I would love to hold one and pet it. Oh my gosh. I would too, Penny. I've only seen them very few times in real life, even though they're all around where I live. Okay, now we'll do the finishing touches on these animals. So we'll get out white gouache. If you don't have this, you can use like white watercolor paint, although it might not be as vibrant. You could also use a white gel pen or a white acrylic paint even, if you want to. And you can squirt it on your palette and use it, or you can just take a tiny brush and take some right out of the tube, which is what I'm going to do. If you've never used gouache before, it is basically like watercolor, or I guess it's a cross between watercolor and acrylic. I'm gonna add some to his eyelid here. But the thing about it is that when it dries, you can re-wet it on your painting. That's like one of the things about it, is that you can re-wet it and blend or work it more. That can be a good thing or a bad thing. Another thing about gouache is that I think it's always opaque. I could be wrong, but it's opaque, meaning it's like when you lay down a brush stroke, you can't see what is underneath it. And I'm just adding a little bit of white here and there. I probably won't use very much on the owl, just some details. Okay, I'm gonna move on to the fawn. Okay, so the fawn, we'll be using quite a bit of white gouache. I'm going to add some to the tail, like so. Add some, like right above the eye. Like that. I'll add a little tiny highlight on the nose. And then of course the white spots. Okay, so I'm just gonna dab my brush. Try to make your spots like some smaller and some larger. You don't want them all the same size. And you want to follow the contour of his or her back, his or her back. And if you look at pictures of a fawn, they have like their stripes kind of go in a line for the most part, I think. And basically, I looked up what a fawn looks like on Google Images, so that's what I'm looking at right now for these spots. I'm not just like adding them anywhere I want. Okay, and then for the ear, right here, I'm gonna add some fur. And then on the side. Okay, I'm gonna add a little highlight on the hoof, right there. And we're done with the fawn. Okay, so now I'm gonna move on to the fox. And for the fox, we won't be using much. We'll just use some on his ear right here for like some fur. And I might also add some along here because he does have some white fur probably. Like right there. And there we go, guys. We're done with the animals. How exciting is that? Aren't they so cute? So cute. Cleaning my brushes now. Now I'm going to paint in the stump here and the leaves. And depending on how much time I have, I don't have much time, so I might not do this live, but I might paint in some grass. But yeah, I'm really running tight on time right now. So for the leaves, I'm gonna make them very simple. And I think I'm gonna use my size 8 brush. And for the green, I'm gonna mix a green here because the greens in the set are just too saturated, and not just, they're just kind of not really realistic. Wow, I had a hard time saying that. So I'm gonna take deep moss and mix a little bit of this daylight color into it. And I think I've done that before right here. So deep moss. And you can use whatever green you want. If your green is too saturated like this, you can also mix a little bit of red into it and it'll just make it more of a realistic green. In fact, I might do that instead. I'll mix a little bit of redwood into this green. That will tone it down. There we go. That's what I want. And I'm gonna try and mix enough of this color, so I'm mixing more of it. and I want maybe 50% paint and 50% water. Okay. I'm just going to do this pretty loose. I'm using my size 8 round brush. Silver black velvet brushes are perfect for leaves like this. Perfect. Because of how pointy they are. I'm not really following my outline to be too exact here. Okay, just kind of painting some loose leaves. This has a lot of paint. I'm going to soak some up with a dry brush. Okay. And then you can take like a very thin brush or a script brush like this. Drag some from the top leaf and down for the stem. I didn't even add any paint to this brush. Just kind of dragging the paint from the leaves. And then while your leaves are still wet, you could also drop in some other colors. So I think I'm going to drop in maybe a little bit of brown. Just like a touch of it, like not too much, just to make them look more realistic. Make the leaves, I mean, they don't look realistic though because they're loose, but it'll just make them more interesting and tie your painting together because there's brown in the animals, but there's not green in the animals. So if you add brown to your leaves, it'll just make the leaves look like they belong with the animals. Do the same thing here with these. And then add brown. Okay. There we go. And now we'll do the stump. So for the stump, I'm going to take brown. I'm just going to paint it loosely, like so. And then I'm going to take brown. Again, this time not as much water. Dab it at the top. So it's darker at the top because I'm trying to make it be a shadow. Then I'll take some black too. Dab that up there to really make it pop up there. Increase the contrast. And then you can add other colors, like maybe a little bit of green. Maybe there's some moss on that stump, right? So add some green. And this will just help bring the leaves together with the stump. It looks cool and just brings it together more. Okay. I won't do grass under these guys, but you can if you want to. And yeah, I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial. I'll read the chat here shortly, but thank you for joining me for this. If you enjoy this tutorial, you might like my woodland animal class where we paint 7 different woodland animals, all in-depth tutorials just like this, but longer, more complex. And I also have a 10-day watercolor woodland animal challenge, which we paint 5 woodland animals in 10 days together, and we have live streams just like this. So yeah, you can check them out down below. They are linked in the description. And I also have an in-depth fox tutorial here on YouTube. So if you search Allison Lane Art Fox, you'll find my fox tutorial here. And I don't know, I think I have a deer one too. I have a deer one as well. I don't know if I have an owl one. I can't remember. Okay. Let me read the chat now. Here, let's see. Allison, if the question is too personal, do you not have, you don't have to answer it. What state are you from? I am from Indiana. Yep, I live in Indiana. Chatra, oh, what was I going really fast? Sorry, I was going pretty fast towards the end because I'm tight on time. I should probably leave. Oh guys, we need to do the artist spotlight, okay? I'm going to spotlight one of you guys. So one of you guys I'm going to spotlight here. So let me first give you a close-up of this painting, okay? And then I will spotlight one of you here on the live stream. So here's a close-up. All right. Okay. Okay. Sorry, I'm like a mess right now. And I don't have my tripod, so I have to hold my camera. Okay, so artist spotlight. I'm so unprepared right now. I'm sorry. She's here right now. She's here. Chatra. Chatra is the spotlight artist. Let me find her on Instagram. She is linked down below in the description of this video if you want to follow her on Instagram. Oh my gosh. Okay. She makes just beautiful artwork. Here she is on Instagram. Chatra. Look at her artwork. She did some of my tutorials, which is why I'm spotlighting her. So to get featured on these live streams, all you have to do is use the hashtag CreateLoveBloom or Allison Lane Art Tutorial on Instagram, and you may have the chance to be featured. She did my acorn tutorial here that we did a few months ago. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. It was a lot of fun. Sorry, I'm a mess right now. I was going to read more of the chat. But I don't think I will right now. I should go. But thank you so much for doing this with me. It was a lot of fun. I think these animals turned out beautifully, beautifully. They turn out so cool. I love them. I feel like it was pretty easy, or maybe a little challenging, but yeah. Dawn, oh, Dawn is late. Oh, that's okay. Yeah, there is a replay when this ends. Okay, there we go. I appreciate you guys. I'll see you in the next video, okay? Thank you for joining me.